Hi boys and girls, we're going to continue with If You Live with the Cherokee, but first let's review our words again. Remember we have the short A sound, but that's colored by the R this week. Sharp, parch, sparse. Then we have our three long A sounds, A consonant E, AI, and A-R-E. So we have plain, which is like what you fly in, made, something that you make, and pain. We have AI, plain, no decorations. Made, someone that can clean your house. Trait, and then we have our ARE, spare and share. Remember to make sure you're studying this week because you have to remember that sparse has an E on it, and you have to know the difference between plain and plain, made and made. So you have to study their meanings as well as how you spell them. Yesterday we added the word settlers to talk about people that come to a new place to live. And we talked about the Europeans are coming over to America and they're changing the life of the Cherokee. The word I want to add today is warrior. A warrior is somebody who helps defend their people from enemies. All right, today we're going to continue with If You Lived with the Cherokee by Peter and Connie Roop. How did you get around in the forests? The lower mountains and valleys were crisscrossed with trails. Many of the forest trails were made by deer and other animals. Thousands of Cherokee feet made the trails smooth near the villages. The trails connected all of the Cherokee villages. Many led to the lands of other tribes too. Some trails were very long and ran for miles through Cherokee territory. The Great Warrior's Path ran north to south through Cherokee country. The Cherokee and other tribes used the Great Warrior's Path for swift raids against their enemies. The higher mountains were very rugged, and there were few trails. And here they show a picture of people walking through the woods. And so the trails were made by animals and by the thousands of Cherokee feet that used them. Did the Cherokee ride horses? Horses were not as much use in the mountains as they were, Horses were not much use in the mountains where the Cherokee lived, so they were not as important as they were to the Sioux and other Plains Indians. Okay, so that makes sense. Remember, the Plains Indians hunted buffalo and had to be fast, and so that would make sense that the plains are very wide open, but the woods that the Cherokee lived in, just like the woods around here, they're not open, and so it would be hard to get a horse through there. The Cherokee did have horses. People today talk about a breed called the Cherokee pony that may have been raised in Cherokee villages. And here's a picture of a Cherokee with what may have been a Cherokee pony. Who were your enemies? Your greatest enemies were the neighboring Choctaw and Creek, but you might also fight the Chickasaw, Shawnee, and Seneca. War played an important role in Cherokee life. Men and women could be warriors. It would be up to you whether or not to go to war. No one could make you fight if you did not want to. Warriors usually went to war to seek revenge for the death of a clan member. After a war dance, you and your companions would walk single file through the woods to your enemy's village. You would call to one another with bird calls or other animal noises. Once you had taken your enemy by surprise, you would kill only as many of the enemy as they had killed in your clan. Then you went back home. However, your enemy would want revenge and attack you again. Then you would attack in return. To prepare for war, young Cherokee were made to endure cold, pain, and hunger. They had to listen politely while respected warriors told of their past deeds. If you were a good warrior, you might earn the title of Raven if you were a boy, or beloved woman if you were a girl. The Cherokee people were involved in many wars Europeans fought for control of America. In 1754, they sided with the English against the French. In 1776, they fought with the English against the Americans in the Revolutionary War. In 1781, after the Americans won that war, the Cherokee had to give a large amount of their land to the United States. In the War of 1812, the Cherokee helped General Andrew Jackson defeat the Creek for their longtime enemies. The Creek fought with the English against the Americans and the Cherokee in that war. Without the Cherokee at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, General Jackson might have lost. With their help, he won. Never again would the Cherokee have to fight the Creek. And here's a picture, and you can see the Cherokee and the white settlers are fighting on the same side against the Creek Indians. Did the Cherokee scalp their enemies? Yes, but they did not do this before the Europeans came. They learned to scalp from the Europeans. Even then, they rarely scalped an enemy. The Cherokee used war clubs in battles. They made 3 kinds. One was a stick about 3 feet long with a large knob on the end. Another was a short club with deer antler spikes. The third was a club with a sharp rock on the end. Brave warriors got to wear an eagle feather in their hair as a sign of courage. To earn his feather, a boy would have to be brave in battle. He would have to do courageous or dangerous deeds in front of others so that they could see just how brave he was. When the new settlers came, the Cherokee began using guns. They replaced their stone knives and clubs with steel knives and tomahawks from the Europeans. So there's another big difference we can see when the Europeans came. It changed the weapons that they used, because before the settlers came, they'd never seen of a gun other than a blowgun, and their tools that had been made out and weapons that had been made out of stone were now made out of steel. It's just very interesting how the settlers began to change the lives of the Cherokee. Thanks for listening, and we'll read more tomorrow.